Hello there, it's Terry here for Tailored Expressions. Today's video I am sharing a fun shaker card that I created using the Fanfare Cutting Plate and coordinating layering stencils. Let's get started. Before we get started, here are the supplies that I will be using for the project. Fanfare Cutting Plate with the coordinating layering stencils, the Hello Lovely Sentiment stamp with coordinating dies, frame and frame 2 cutting plate, I'm a Hugger Unicorn dies, and Rainbow Cloud Duo. The inks that I will use are Macaron, Pink Champagne, Strawberry Milkshake, Peaches and Cream, Banana Cream Pie, Sprinkles, and Mint Julep. For my shaker bits, I am going to use bits and pieces in Clay Cloud and Rainbow Rhinestones. I will also need blender brushes, a white gel pen, thin double-sided tape, a blue marker, liquid adhesive, and VersaFine Clear ink. And for cardstocks, I am using sugar cube, cupcake, toffee, pink champagne, and a sheet of acetate. To start off, I went ahead off screen. I ran a sheet of sugar cube cardstock with the Fanfare Cutting Plate. I then went ahead and placed a low-tack tape to the back of the cardstock and pressed it against my work surface to prevent the cardstock from shifting during the stenciling process. I aligned the markings on a stencil with the markings on my cardstock from the Fanfare Cutting Plate and used my magnets to hold the stencil in place. I am going in with pink champagne ink and my pink blending brush to add the first layer onto my cardstock. I'm not going in with a heavy hand. I just want to make sure that all of the opening on the first layer of stencil is covered with my pink champagne ink. Now going in with the second layering stencil, I aligned it with the markings of the Fanfare impression and held it in place with my magnets once again. This time, going in with Peaches and Cream ink, I applied the ink onto all of the open areas of the stencil. Then, using my microfiber cloth again, I wiped it off before continuing on with the next layering stencil. I went ahead and continued with the ink blending of the remaining stencils and used Banana Cream Pie, Mint Julep, Sprinkle, and Macaron inks. As I'm looking at the panel, I decided that I wanted the first arch to be a little brighter. So the area where we blended pink champagne ink in, I placed the layering stencil back on top and used Strawberry Milkshake ink to blend that in. I just thought that this arch needed to be a little brighter. I love how bright and colorful this turned out, and the impression of the Fanfare Cutting Plate gives it so much added interest and texture. Here's a close-up look at the details. Okay, so now to create the shaker element, I went ahead and die cut the frame and frame 2 out of sugar cube and toffee cardstock. I wanted to layer the frames together to create a well for all of the bits and pieces, instead of using foam tape. So I cut 4 frames out of sugar cube and only 1 frame out of toffee. You will also need 2 sheets of acetate that are cut slightly larger than the inside of the frame and frame 2 die cuts. I cut the acetate sheets down to about 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches. Okay, so I went ahead and started layering the frames together. With all 4 white frames, I used liquid adhesive to stack that on one another. Now, before I adhere the toffee frame to the white frames, I want to layer an acetate sheet. Instead of using liquid adhesive, I am using thin double-sided adhesive tape. I placed it around the frame, then I removed the backing of the double-sided adhesive tape and pressed the acetate sheet on top. Then I added another round of double-sided tape on top of the acetate sheet. I then pressed the toffee frame die cut right on top of it. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but this setup is creating a little well to hold all of our little bits and pieces. So the shaker setup that we just created, one side is toffee and the other side is sugar cube cardstock. I want to go ahead and place the toffee side flat down onto my work surface. I love the clay cloud mix with the rainbow rhinestone. It creates so much sparkle against the fanfare background. I went ahead and mixed the two together inside the shaker well and made sure that everything was evenly spread out. Then I added another layer of double-sided tape and I removed the adhesive backing. I then went ahead and used a second sheet of acetate and pressed that down onto the double-sided tape. This will seal the shaker elements together. So now I went ahead and added another layer of double-sided tape with liquid adhesive and adhered that onto the colorful fanfare background. I'm sure you can use any adhesive here, but I feel like the double-sided tape adhesive is really strong and secure, especially holding all of the bits and pieces for the shaker element. So now I went ahead and cut out the rainbow clouds a few times. I went in with my blue blending brush and my sprinkle ink pad to blend along the edges of the clouds. I thought that this is a great way to add a little bit of interest to the card panel. For the sentiment, I stamped it out onto sugar cube cardstock with VersaFine ink. I used the coordinating dies and ran that through my die cutting machine. To assemble the card, I added the rainbow clouds towards the bottom of the card panel and adhered it with liquid adhesive. I then adhered the unicorn at a slight angle. Now going in with a light blue marker and a white gel pen, I added additional details to the clouds and unicorn. There are so many good sentiments in this sentiment set, but I decided to use a sentiment, "You make the world a better place." And I used a coordinating die to cut out a sugar cube cardstock twice so that I can stack it together to create some dimension. I then went ahead and applied some liquid adhesive to the back of my sentiment stack and adhered it to the upper left side of my card. Since there are so many layers on this card, it will require a few extra post-it stamps to mail out, but you can also deliver it by hand. Lastly, I adhered it to a top folding card base. And that's it! I hope you can see how much the shaker bits move on the inside of this card. I just think it's so fun and playful. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found some inspirations to get crafty. Please don't forget to like this video and follow the channel to get notification for future videos. Okay, until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.